Good evening. I'm Brighton Supervisor Bill Maley, and I'm very pleased to welcome a full house tonight to our December 9th meeting of the Brighton Town Board. I do want to note that for those of you that are attending the meeting here in person, we do have our agenda and our full meeting packet with all supporting materials. There is a table in the back of the room there, and that agenda is on the table, many copies of the agenda, along with a folder with all of the supporting material. Now, as always, we're also streaming this meeting live on the internet and on our cable access channel, Channel 12. And for those of you that are watching via your TV or the internet, you can access all of that same material on the town's website, www.townofbrighton.org. And again, the agenda and all supporting material for tonight's meeting and every town board meeting is available on the website. In just a minute, we're going to be starting with a couple of presentations on our open forum, but let's get started with a pledge to the flag. And I'm going to ask Town Board Member Louise Novros to lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just a couple of procedural announcements. First, if you hear the alarm system, that means there is an emergency. We have to leave the room. You can leave either through the door to my right. If you go out that door, turn right, go down the stairs, and out the rear door of Town Hall and move away from Town Hall. Or you can leave through either of the double doors in the back of the room, marked with exit signs, straight through the lobby, out the front doors of Town Hall, go down the stairs, and again, away from the building. Now, if you're watching at home on our community access channel, cable channel 12, very rarely, but occasionally, we do experience technical difficulties if you have a problem with the audio or the video, and you're watching live. Please contact Time Warner at 756-5000. That's 756-5000 if you do have any audio or video problems. Okay, as I mentioned, we're going to start with a couple of presentations tonight. Saturday, November 21st, truly was a red letter day in Brighton's history. To the best of my knowledge, we have never had state champions from two different high schools in the town of Brighton win those state championships on the same day. There may have been other towns somewhere in the state that have done it, New York City, no doubt, but that was truly an extraordinary accomplishment. So I'm very pleased to be able to recognize the two state champions in boys volleyball, McQuaid Jesuit High School and Brighton High School. We're going to start with McQuaid tonight. I do want to note that Father, are you here? There you are. School principal Adam Baber was, I don't believe, is able to attend tonight. Matt Thomas, the athletic director, is here. And Christopher Barks is here, the coach. So I'm going to ask all of you, and at the risk of feeling short, all of our state champion from McQuaid boys volleyball team to come on up and join me here at the podium. Come on up, everybody. feel short tonight. All right, I want to read this proclamation because we truly are excited to be able to recognize this great accomplishment at a high school that we are very proud of. Brighton, of course, is known for its educational prowess, but also athletic prowess. And so let me read this proclamation that recognizes both. Whereas the town of Brighton values and supports quality education and recognizes and honors the role of athletics in shaping the lives of our children and this community's future leaders. And whereas school athletic programs cultivate competition and cooperation in the context of organized athletics and are an integral part of school life and personal achievement. And whereas on November 21st, 2015, the McQuaid Jesuit High School Knights volleyball team claimed the state championship title in representing Section 5 in Division 1, winning, get this, their 4th state championship trophy in the past 6 years. Now therefore be it proclaimed that I, William W. Maley, Brighton Town Supervisor, and members of our Town Council do hereby recognize and congratulate the McQuaid Jesuit Knights volleyball team, along with their coaches, for a job well done in winning the title of New York State Division I State Volleyball Championships. And this proclamation is signed this 9th day of December, 2015, by myself and by all of the members of the town board. And I'd like to invite Father. Where are you? Wait a second. Matt and Christopher, come on up. I knew you were there behind me.
He did all the work.
Well, I want to present this to all of you with the congratulations of the entire community. It was a great day, a great accomplishment, and I was talking to one of your sophomores before the meeting, and he's pulling for a couple more before he graduates. So I hope he's right, and if you do, we'll have you back. So, Father, congratulations. I'll give this to you, and any of all of you, I'd love to have you say a few words on behalf of the school. Good, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I want to thank you and the citizens of this great town. It really is our honor to represent Brighton. We're great neighbors of so many of you, and it's just a great honor to represent our neighbors in this way. I want to thank congratulate Dr. Parks and Mr. Thomas and the team for really doing such a wonderful job. Also, I want to congratulate Dr. McGowan and the Brighton students who are also state champs. I think one of the nice things that happened that day were the two teams cheering for one another. I think it's a wonderful symbol of this great town that we're so happy to represent. So thank you, congratulations, and we look forward to next year.
Thank you, Father. Well, congratulations, each and every one of you. But like they say on TV, but wait, there's more. As I mentioned, November 21st was an extraordinary day because Brighton brought 2 state volleyball championships home. And so I want to ask Dr. Kevin McGowan, Brighton Superintendent, Tom Hall, Principal, Fritz Killian, athletic director, health, physical education, and athletic director. And I believe Coach Rosenbaum could not be here tonight. But come on up. And Brighton volleyballers, come on up. You know, for those of you not in the room watching on TV, the great thing about this is that cheering for each other just continued tonight. Great sportsmanship on the part of both schools. I want to read this proclamation as well. Whereas the town of Brighton values and supports quality education and recognizes and honors the role athletics play in shaping the lives of our children and this community's future leaders. And whereas school athletic programs cultivate competition and cooperation in the context of organized athletics and are an integral part of school life and personal achievement. And whereas on November 21st, 2015, the Brighton High School Barons boys volleyball team claimed the state championship title Division II volleyball, thereby winning their first state championship trophy in boys volleyball in school history. Now therefore be it proclaimed that I, William W. Maley, Brighton Town Supervisor, and the members of the Brighton Town Council do hereby recognize and congratulate the members of the Brighton High School Barons boys volleyball team, along with their coaches, principal, and administrators for a job well done in winning the title of 2015 New York State Boys Volleyball Champions Division II. Signed this 9th day of December. Kevin, Fritz, Tom, come on up. Kevin, I'll give this to you. And give you a chance to say a few words. Give you each a chance to say a few words.
You think you fell short. First of all, thank you very much, Bill, and to the entire town board for recognizing these great kids tonight. We really appreciate it. It's quite an honor. I'd also thank Father Reiser and McQuaid Jesuit for their support of our team. And I do agree, one of the great aspects of these two teams being there for each other, win or lose, certainly nicer to win, was the support that they showed for each other. I thought that was really wonderful and a great aspect to this whole experience for our kids. Thanks to our friends and neighbors, we are exceptionally proud to always represent this town and everything that we do on the stage, in the classroom, and certainly in athletic contests as we're celebrating today. We thank you for your support of the work that we do in all of those realms, but particularly for this team and through this experience. It's been wonderful. We're very proud of the kids, as I know McQuaid Jesuit is, for not only how they played, but how they do it. How they achieve, but how they carry themselves, the way they act, the way they perform, again, in the classroom and as student athletes, but on the court and how they carry themselves. I think they're great examples for all kids around. They're champions of volleyball, but champions as people too. So great work to all of you. Thank you very much for recognizing their accomplishment. Thank you, McQuaid, for your partnership. And above all, congratulations, boys. We're very proud of you. Great job.
Very good. Hope to see you, both teams, back up here next year. But, you know, what an accomplishment. My congratulations to both schools. Job well done. You're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting. However, if you win a state championship, the rule around here is we do let you go home early.
Didn't have to say that twice.
Our fire department had the opportunity to welcome these great students back to town to celebrate their championships. It's just wonderful the way the whole community came out to say congratulations and support these two great teams. And we're so pleased that they could be here with us this evening. We're going to now continue with the open forum portion of our meeting. During the open forum period of the meeting, members of the audience may address the town board about any matter, whether or not it's on tonight's agenda. Now, we do have one public hearing tonight concerning an amendment of the incentive zoning approval for the University of Rochester's South Campus project to extend the time at which a traffic study, the latest updated traffic study in the area, needs to be done. If you're here to speak to that matter and you'd like your comments included as part of the record, I would encourage you to wait until the public hearing is called. It will be early in the evening. But if you are here to address another matter, I will recognize members of the audience wishing to speak. When you are recognized, please come to the podium. Just raise your hand. If you would, please, when you get to the podium, please give us your name and address. Comments should be directed to the board and not to other members of the audience. Please be courteous. Please try to keep your comments as concise as possible. And if you are reading from written prepared comments, you should feel free to provide them to the town clerk after you speak, and they'll be included in the official record of the meeting. Now, if you are watching on TV, or if you're watching on your computer, I have to have at least one of the doors open. We need to, for open meeting purposes. I know it may get a little loud, but it'll quiet down. If you're watching on your TV or computer, and you would like to call in with a question or comment during the open forum period, please call 303-3060. Someone will take your call and relay your question or your comment to us. Again, that number, if you'd like to participate in the open forum from home, is 303-3060. Now, if you're deaf or hearing impaired, you may call our TDD line to participate in the open forum. Our TDD line phone number is 784-5205. Again, to call our TDD line during the open forum with a question or a comment, 784-5205. And we look forward to hearing you. Is there anyone here that would like to address the board tonight during the open forum portion of our meeting? Josh, come on up.
Thank you. I have a few things to report to the board, and so I need a few
Josh,
notes.
if you would just state your name and address.
Of course.
Thanks.
My name is Joshua Barth. I'm the county legislator for District 24. That encompasses parts of southeast Rochester as well as a large chunk of north central Brighton. And upon occasion, I like to come every other month, but I don't always make it. I'd like to make a short report of the goings-ons to the Brighton Town Board, as well as anyone who happens to be watching from home. Last night, as most of us are probably aware, the county budget was voted upon in the full legislature, and it did pass along a vote of 18 to 11. It's about budget of about $1.2 billion, and it has been described as being essentially a, what was the word someone used? A boring budget in that there was no major changes. Some might say that's a good thing, some might disagree, but I would just simply say that it is a budget that does not have any hidden surprises in it, and it is what it purports to be. There were 5 amendments offered that evening. One was to devote $50,000 towards the REACH organization's plan to develop a emergency shelter for the chronically homeless this coming winter as a one-shot. It'd be replaced permanently with a permanent facility provided by private donors. That was rejected, and that's unfortunate. The second amendment was to provide bid to make it perhaps more palatable, $40,000 to REACH for the same purpose, and it was rejected as well, unfortunately. And then there was another amendment suggesting that perhaps it might be wise to devote $104,000 to the Rochester Central Library to restore summer hours, and that was a figure that was derived from the employees of that facility who determined what it would cost to actually allow the library to be open during the Sunday hours. That was rejected. And then there was an additional amendment suggesting that perhaps it would be a wise thing to restore $120,000 worth of funding for subsidized childcare, and that was unfortunately rejected as well. And then finally, there was a costless amendment that had no cost associated to initiate a study of what has been and can be done about chronic homelessness within Monroe County. I don't mean homelessness in general. I just mean those who are persistently homeless and are extremely difficult to serve, and what can be done about that. And that too was rejected. This is not a terrible surprise, but all of those amendments were offered in good faith and in a way that did not negatively impact the budget or cause any possibility of any additional tax or fee increases. So all of them would have been paid for if passed. Of other note, I would point out there was a concern raised by some citizens at the public forum and as well as in letters to county legislators regarding a line item that had to do with providing training in the event of a derailment of an oil car and potential fires that might result in, that would be pretty much a disastrous thing. The concern was that these funds, these training funds should be not paid for by taxpayers or by the county, but instead should be paid for by the oil transporters. And upon questioning, we determined that in fact this line item, the funding for it was actually coming from state grants. And while it may be argued that that is a form of taxpayer funding as well, it is a form that has already been taxed. So I was pleased to find out that in fact that concern was while a legitimate concern did not have a basis in fact. So that is a good thing that the funding is actually not coming from the county citizens, at least not directly. An additional thing that occurred, it's important to recognize, is that the CIP document passed last night as well. And the CIP is the capital improvement program for the county. Now, this is a huge document. There are 73 different projects. They range in size from $58,000 up to, I believe the largest was $5.9 million for projects relating to the airport tarmac or culverts or building repairs, a whole bunch of things, a very wide array, and that was passed as well. Now the challenge with that, I point out, is that we did pass that, and if you look at the minutes of the meeting in about a month, it will indicate that we voted on this every single time. The vote I believe would have been 28-2. Each individual vote 73 times. That did not occur. We had one vote. We attempted to split out items to have separate votes on certain items that people had concerns about, but we were not allowed to do that. But the capital improvement program did in fact pass, and it will be modified as we go through the year. This is standard operating procedure. And then finally, in a more I will use the word controversial. A more controversial vote that occurred was to accept the recommendations of the Compensation Policy Commission, which met extremely quickly in a very short order over the course of 19 days, where they were supposed to have about 2 years to 4 years time to actually, to examine compensation for elected officials. In fact, all elected officials, but instead they only focused on one, and that's for the Monroe County Sheriff. And those recommendations are, to be polite, interesting. as a word my mother-in-law used to use a lot. That's interesting. And it is interesting in that depending upon when you run, and depending upon if you are an incumbent or not, the Monroe County Sheriff will be paid different amounts of money. This is problematic. If you have people running for an elected position for the same job and they're going to be paid different amounts of money, there's an inherent degree of inequality in that. And one might argue that, that's a wonderful thing for an incumbent. They have to actually, they've earned it. Well, if you're in a job and you know what the job is, you know what pay you're going to get, and that's acceptable. But the thing is, if you're not an incumbent, one of your campaign slogans could easily be, vote for me, I'll save you $40,000 just by being elected. And that seems to me to be a very inappropriate way to consider why one should vote for one candidate over another candidate. And I try not to indicate where I vote on these matters, but on this particular one, I feel obliged to point out I did vote against that, and I would do so again in a minute. And I believe that is the things I wanted to point out from last night. I will point out that there was one other event did occur. It's the last night of this session. The session lasted for 4 years. And on this night, many people say farewell, and there is a feeling of loss because you lose years of expertise. And since most of these people were there for 10 years and about 10 people left, that's about 100 years of expertise and experience that has been lost. And on both sides of the aisle, that is a problem. It's natural, it has to happen, but it is a sad thing as well. And one of the last things we did as a body actually was to pass a referral that had been in the works for a long time, I think 4 years, by Minority Leader Kerry Andrews to allow for, in fact, to allow a space to be dedicated towards breastfeeding in all county-owned buildings. And this has not been the case in the past, and it has been a long, drawn-out process. But in honest to God's spirit of bipartisanship, that actually did pass the very last thing. And for that, I am thankful, and I think that is actually a kudo that the county legislature can put on its chest and be proud of. And if there's any questions regarding anything I've just spoken about, I'd be quite happy to answer anything.
Well, thanks, Josh. A couple things. I certainly am pleased that the training for a potential oil train disaster is taking place. Mark, I believe that's the reference to the tabletop exercise.
Yes,
that
second or third week in January.
Right, that we're going to be a part of, because both the main line that runs through downtown Rochester, but also the southern line run through a portion of Brighton. And particularly the main line runs through a very densely populated part of East Brighton, crosses some significant thoroughfares, and we have heard concern over the years, and particularly the source of the oil from the fracking operations in North Dakota. The grade of that oil, the volatility of that oil is slightly different, and in fact, it appears more dangerous, more subject to explosion and flame should there be a disaster. So I think that exercise is very important. We're going to participate in it.
I agree.
I have to point out that the town of Brighton passed its budget for 2016. And we passed our budget, we passed our CIP, I believe in August. We held budget hearings on our budget in October. We held budget workshops in September. We introduced to the public the town budget in September. People in this community had the opportunity to review the budget, come in before us, ask questions in both formal and informal settings. This you described as a boring budget, not a lot of changes from last year. Is there any reason that the County of Monroe can't do the same thing so that county candidates, county legislature candidates, county executive candidates have to run with the public knowing how they voted on the budget and knowing what the budget looked like? If there was a year that it could have been done, this would have seemed to been the year.
You asked me if there's any reason. I don't think there's any legitimate reason. I think that there may be political reasons. I think it's a shame that we don't do that. I think that it is a best practice to let the voters know what you're doing ahead of time before decisions need to be made, whether or not you're up for election. So I think it's something that, in fact, should be done, and I'm very proud of the fact that I represent a part of a town that does make that a practice. It is something, unfortunately, that the outgoing county executive has chosen not to do. I think that's something that perhaps maybe the incoming county executive might change. Perhaps. We can hope. I don't think there's any reason why that cannot be a possibility. I think that, in fact, it is the right thing to do, and in fact, it would engender the openness and transparency that we all claim to want, and I think that, in fact, we should do that. So if you ask me if there's any reason, I don't think there is a reason, no.
Well, having said that, and I certainly do congratulate and thank all of the county legislators that are term limited out. And I also want to thank the outgoing County Executive Brooks. She has served all of us as a community. She also is term limited and is at the end of her term. And so I thank her for her service as well. And I look forward to working with the new county executive, and look forward to continuing to work with you and with our other county legislators, including our newest county legislator representing Brighton, James Shepard, the former Rochester Police Chief. So we look forward again to working with all of you.
Excellent.
Thanks, Josh.
Thank you.
Any of the rest of you
Josh,
have any
a
questions?
couple of questions. It's interesting, they can vote, the legislature can vote an increase for the sheriff, yet they're cutting back on child care subsidies for the working poor. And this REACH program is a collaborative effort from about every quadrant of the county in trying to serve the chronically homeless. And they've done that in cooperation with the diocese here in Rochester. But it's interesting that Lovely Warren and the City Council of Rochester have voted to approve $50,000 to support that effort for an emergency shelter for the winter for the chronically homeless. And yet the county, who's by state law, that is their responsibility, the county, not the city, the county, they voted to increase the sheriff's salary, but chose not to fund or support the working poor in terms of a shelter. I find that, abysmal, and you talk about that budget, that's, to my mind, is not a good budget. That's, that is a sad commentary that, they're treating the poor that way. These are people that didn't ask to be that way in life. Many of them have suffered from mental illness, and they can't help themselves. I'm very familiar with this. And it's too bad your colleagues didn't go along with you to approve that. So we're stuck with this now. But the city has come forward. I just hope that other people will remember this and to help support this out of their own funds.
I agree. It's not a problem that's going to go away. This was an opportunity to provide a temporary solution on the way to a permanent solution. And unfortunately, the county as a whole chose not to support that opportunity. And I agree. I like the use of your word, interesting. It is interesting that they chose to do that.
Sad, but interesting. Deplorable, but interesting. Pathetic, but interesting.
Thanks, Josh.
I wouldn't
Any other
argue.
questions? Thanks, Josh.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to address the town board during the open forum portion of our meeting? Yes, come on up. Good evening.
My name is Patty Shermer, and I live at 1488 Crittenden Road in Brighton. And I'm here, I would like to inquire regarding the methadone clinic, which is projected to open in our community of Brighton in 2016. as Supervisor Maley stated at the previous town forum, the Brighton Methadone Clinic will serve 700 patients per day in our community. Knowing that each of you in our town has the Brighton residents' best interests at heart, I would like to ask you what benefit you feel that a methadone clinic in our community will serve your constituents. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm not sure that I specifically stated that number. I know the university has given some numbers as to, but if I did, I may have. But certainly it's the university's project, and capacity is something that they will be discussing. The proposed clinic, and it is a proposed clinic, and the university has indicated a desire to open it in 2016 in the Brighton Business facility there on West Henrietta Road. What benefits will the methadone clinic have for the community of Brighton? We are all facing, and the chief may have some thoughts as well, but we are facing an opiate and heroin epidemic in all of our communities. And treatment facilities are important. Now, having said that, I'm concerned as we look at this clinic. It's currently operating on the Strong Memorial Hospital campus, and it's moving from that location to Brighton, to a facility that currently houses primarily other Department of Psychiatry facilities on West Henrietta Road, as well as a kidney dialysis facility. And to me, it's important, just, the Strong Ties operation moved out there long before I became the town supervisor. But the public safety interests are being addressed with proposed 24/7 video surveillance inside and out, public safety from the University of Rochester, personnel there, both inside and out. So from that perspective, the concerns that I have, and we're going to want to see exactly what the university is proposing. I heard some things from neighbors being suggested the other night. There were questions that neighbors had at the last meeting, and I will tell you I was disappointed. I told the university that I was disappointed that they could not have a representative at that last meeting, which was our West Brighton Community Forum. What I have been told is that they are prepared to meet again with neighborhood leadership. And I have advocated to the university that they also meet again with the public. Not everybody could attend the first meeting that they held. I think there were some questions that were asked that people need to get answers for.
Did you say that not everyone could attend the first meeting that they held?
I'm sure that's true.
Well, they only asked 5 neighborhood representatives.
I'm sorry, maybe I wasn't clear. I was not talking about the meeting that they had with the neighborhood representatives. I was talking about the public meeting that they had that the larger group of people were at. There have been 2 meetings.
Correct.
That the university held, and in addition, during the same time frame, the town board held our semi-annual West Brighton Community Forum that the university was not at, despite having been asked.
Right.
And I am hoping, what I'm told is that they will be meeting again after the first of the year with neighborhood association leaders, and I understand that neighborhood association leaders met just last night. It is my hope, and I have advocated to the government relations representatives for the university, that they hold another public meeting following the neighborhood association leaders meeting, because not everybody could attend, because I heard questions that were posed to me at the West Brighton Community Forum that were new, that had not been asked at that prior meeting. And I think it would be helpful to have the university available with the public to answer those and other questions. We absolutely believe that open government, open dialogue on important projects, and I give the university a lot of credit. They worked very hard in the South Campus incentive zoning project over many years to meet with residents in West Brighton, with town officials, to share their plans, and I think that worked well for the university and for the folks in West Brighton, and I hope they'll follow that same example now.
Well, let me ask you, this is not a proposal, this is happening. This is going through. They are remodeling the building right now.
They are remodeling the building now for another use, I believe, Tim. They are remodeling for another program that they are moving from the science park to that building. It's a program for adults that are leaving hospitalization for mental health issues, and will be involved with, among other things, intense group therapy programs. It is my understanding that that is the work that is currently being done at that facility.
Have you seen the packet that they gave us that shows the actual diagram?
I have.
All right, okay. All right, I don't have any more questions at this
Thank
time.
you.
Thank
Do you have anything in writing that you want to give us?
Bill, this is the second time that I've heard the same question about how does this methadone clinic in Brighton help the constituents of Brighton. I can guarantee you there's one Brighton resident that's going to be served by that clinic. Heroin is an epidemic in this country and in our community. God forbid a member of my family or your family should suffer that. That there should be treatment in our community goes without saying. This is a critical service. The fact that it's located in Brighton reflects a matter of our central location, and the old location of the clinic is not very far from where this new proposal is. I drove around. I went from the West Brighton meeting last month and drove around that clinic, drove around behind it, and it's an open field behind it. I went for a long ways in the back. Luckily, I have a pickup truck and could get back again through the mud and such. But other than its proximity to an apartment complex, which I don't much care for, this looks to be a good location for this sort of program. There are legitimate concerns. It's not unreasonable to ask the university to be certain that safety concerns are addressed. My experience in my 4 years on the town board is that the University of Rochester is a good neighbor, and they are a responsible neighbor and a member of our community. We will require them to address those concerns. But how does it benefit Brighton any more than any other town in this community? No more and no less.
Mark, would you like to address the public safety?
Mr. Hooper's here, and we had a conversation today, and I don't know if you're going to... So, I'm sorry, I could not attend the West Brighton Community Forum. I had a conflict. I was invited to the first meeting. I adjusted my schedule and did attend the presentation from the university
Jim.
about their proposal. Before that meeting, we received communication from the university that they were proposing to move the clinic from the hospital out to the town of Brighton. And a meeting was requested. The supervisor requested a meeting with the powers to be relative to administration. I asked that Chief Mark Fisher, Chief of Public Safety, also attend. He attended. The Deputy Chief, former Webster Police Chief Jerry Pickering, attended. And a member of his command staff who is directly involved with the methadone program today, Commander Epping. And we sat around the table, and my first reaction from the police chief in the town of Brighton was, what impact will this have from a public safety perspective on our community? Asked the question. And we listened to what the program, who the patients are in the program. Today there are 375 of them. We were told, the term methadone is one of 3 substances that are administered to use to break the cycle of addiction. And I'll talk a little bit more specific on how I've drawn a causality factor between addiction and criminal conduct and how it's impacting our community right now. But we started, so to put my frame of mind in that meeting into proper context, I was skeptical. So what I heard, the basis of the program, I heard that there were 375 participants. The proposal was to move it into the facility where Strong Ties is. Strong Ties used to be down the road from the town hall at Clinton and Elmwood. And when Strong Ties first came out to Brighton, from a policing standpoint, they were drawing on a lot of our resources. And my predecessor, Chief Vocal, ultimately requested a meeting with the university, and we were able to get some dedicated staff to the facility that took away our need to respond. We respond to the more serious situations, and when an arrest needs to be effectuated pursuant to the mental hygiene laws, we have the authority to do that. Strong Ties moved to West Henrietta Road. We continued the dialogue. We continued to look at the staffing perspective from the University of Rochester Public Safety. The University of Rochester Public Safety changed from a safety department to a hybrid mix of peace officers, sworn peace officers with arrest powers, and safety officers. The facility, as it currently sits today, no methadone clinic, just strictly Strong Ties, has both security and sworn personnel out on West Henrietta Road. So we started to talk, what if the clinic were to be moved out of the hospital out to Strong Ties. I offered some suggestions. I made some requests. The peace officer side of the public safety has arrest powers. And Jim, and I think you asked me today, and I called Chief Fisher, and no, they are not currently armed with handguns. I'm going to offer an opinion based on what I read on the news story tonight, where the Rochester Institute of Technology has announced that some of their security personnel will be going down a path of arming and carrying firearms. I was part of a committee at the Monroe Community College. In Monroe Community College, peace officers, campus peace officers, carry firearms. And I was also part of a committee at the University of Rochester where they talked about moving into this hybrid mix of peace and security officers. So they carry pepper gel, not the spray, but a gel, and they're currently armed with batons. And they have arrest authority and arrest powers similar to what I have. The best thing, in my opinion, that they have will be direct communication to the Brighton Police Department. That doesn't exist right now. What exists right now is a call to 911. If they move this clinic out to West Brighton, they have committed to putting a uniformed peace officer outside in a vehicle monitoring the perimeter. They've also agreed to increase peace officer staffing inside the complex. They've agreed to a technology upgrade of cameras, and having just done this in the police department, it's a very costly but useful tool. So from a prevention standpoint, from a physical surrounding standpoint, they had done what I requested and what the supervisor talked about at that meeting. So now I need to see what a methadone clinic causes from a crime causality standpoint to the city of Rochester. I met with Chief Simonelli. We were at another function, and I mentioned that if he'd be so kind to provide me, the Brighton Police Department, with some data relative to the hospital, and if they, in looking at data and being able to drill down data and causalities in data from an analytical standpoint, and I asked him anecdotally, your perspective on a methadone clinic. And he is shared with his thoughts, and the thoughts are similar to mine, and Chris, you stated it, and Bill, you stated it. There is no pretending. Our community in Monroe County, it's not a city, it's not a suburban issue, it's all of ours issues. There's an addiction problem. And the addiction problem can start with something as simple as a prescription abuse, a prescription for a legitimate cause. The person becomes dependent on it, and due to the change of the laws in New York State, people who are addicted to opioids and they can't get them from legitimate resources will turn to a cheaper alternative, and the cheaper alternative is heroin, and heroin sold on the street. And individuals, we've seen individuals spiral out of control. The addiction takes over, and the only way that they can feed their addiction is drugs, and the only way they can get their drugs is to steal. So I think it was a gentleman from Crittenden Road. We've had a couple conversations, and one of the questions that was asked of me, if I could find the number of patients that are currently in the methadone treatment program. It's not called methadone treatment, it's called opioid addiction treatment, or opioid addiction treatment program. There are 375. And the question was, how many of those 375 are court mandated to be in that program? And I was very surprised to learn that out of 375, five are court mandated. Less than 2%. What I heard from the university is that these individuals that are participating in this treatment program, they have to live by a set of rules. There's drug testing. There's a code of conduct, code of expectation of conduct, and there's a willingness on the part of these individuals to follow the rules because they want to break the addiction, the cycle of addiction, through treatment. And if they do not live up to the standards of these treatment programs, they are expelled from the program. One of the residents asked me at the meeting at the University of Rochester, well, if they're getting expelled from the program, Chief, they're now your problem because they're now in your community. They're leaving the facility. So here's how I think, just thinking that this would play out. Somebody is expelled from the program for whatever reason. There is a marked peace officer, police-style police car in the parking lot that has the University of Rochester logo on it, who has direct communication to the Brighton Police Department. And I envision us working as a team and a partner to deal with that problem. So I was asked, does the methadone clinic increase criminal activity in the city of Rochester around the hospital? And I was told from Chief Simonelli, and actually provided with data from the Monroe County Crime Analysis Center, that does not show a correlation between criminal conduct and the hospital footprint itself. I'll talk about a part of Brighton that is nowhere near the University of Rochester and nowhere near the Strong Hospital. That was unfortunately the victims of a series of crimes, burglaries, car larcenies. Reported to the town board that we had 23 in a particular neighborhood. And I'm asked, what is that all about? I can tell you some of our investigations are pointing to individuals, we call them suspects, and they have sold stolen items, we're able to track them. Our problem with 2 of them, we're not able to find them. Right now, they have no known forwarding address, but we are hearing that they're heroin addicted, and that they're trying to support their habit by stealing. So from a crime prevention standpoint, we're getting the message out. We need to lock cars. We need to lock doors. Some of our crimes were the doors to the homes weren't locked, but I don't think that's what you're asking for. What you're asking for, well, if this facility co-locates with strong ties, does that mean that the neighborhoods around is Sunnyside, is Furlong, are streets like that Crittenden Road, gonna experience an increase in criminal activity? I can't guarantee you today that that won't happen. I can't guarantee you today that somebody won't drive in a car or walk to your neighborhood and try to enter a vehicle that's not locked and not secured, looking to steal an item. We put proactive patrols. We try to deter criminal conduct like that by showing a police presence. And Supervisor, you saw my reaction that first meeting. I was surprised to learn that our roving patrols were not as proactive as I thought they were. And Jim, that was one of the questions I asked you today. Have you seen a difference since that? My takeaway, and I'll use your Colonel, inspect what you expect. I now look at data from an officer-created officer type basis on 3 platoons on a daily basis. And if the patrols aren't being done, if I see that there's not a special attention or a directed foot patrol on Furlong, I ask why. That's what we'll do to make the neighborhood feel better. This is a controversial subject. My personal opinion is if we can't get the addiction under control, we're going to continue to have crime. So, I have there were some other questions that were asked of me. I can either meet with you. I think we can talk to the individual that asked these questions. One of them, and I know you're standing at the podium, one question I was asked was that people will drive to the facility. I was provided with some data, some material that indicated that the methadone itself could, and the term is may, cause impairment. So I'm working with a contact in Albany. He's a former police chief assigned as a law enforcement liaison to the Governor's Traffic Safety Council. And we've had a series of discussions, the latest this afternoon. I'm looking to get some expert to give me a written communication back so that I can share it with all the neighbors that says methadone treatment and driving is problematic. The fact that something may cause impairment, in order for us to effectuate an arrest, we have to establish, and let's use the example of alcohol, the mere drinking of alcohol and then operating a car is not a crime. The crime comes in when the operator of the motor vehicle is impaired or intoxicated by the alcohol. So I will be communicating back to the resident that asked me about, well, as a chief of police, I should strongly come out and say that the methadone treatment, administering a treatment and then allowing somebody to drive away, in and of itself is presumptive criminal conduct. It is actually not. And what I heard today from Albany is that, and again, there's all these experts that now are trying to respond to my question, is that their understanding is that the methadone that is administered is done so in a therapeutic dose that does not meet the level that was talked about in this communication. I'm not an expert. I don't have a degree in pharmacology. I hope to contact the director of the methadone, the opioid treatment to talk about this question. I mentioned to Mr. Hooper, and I'll mention to everyone here, Chief Fisher is willing to come out and meet with folks one-on-one. We're willing to, I as well, am willing to sit down and talk about concerns that you may have. Supervisor and members of the town board, you're going to make the decision. I don't know what, if any.
Well, we actually aren't going to make the decision. I mean, I think that's an important point to note. The property is currently zoned BF2, and BF2 zoning does allow medical offices. It allows the retail sale of pharmaceuticals as a pharmacy type operation. So in that sense, neither this board nor the Zoning Board of Appeals will be hearing a variance, or there's no request to change the zoning of this property. The sorts of issues that could require review, and I know we're going to need to look at all of the materials that the university does ultimately provide, issues like determining whether there's sufficient parking. But the town board itself will not have a matter coming before it on which we have to vote. What we will do, and what the meeting that the university held after the first meeting with neighborhood association leaders, I asked them to do that. I have asked them to do another meeting, and I fully expect that they will do that. Ms. Shermer, did you have another question, or is there anybody else that would like to address the town board on this or any other matter? Ms. Shermer, did you?
I wanted to thank you for explaining the things that you did. And at a future date, I would like to discuss, we have maps. I've lived on Crittenden Road for 34 years. And I appreciate your comments, Mr. Warner, but I would really like to do a drive-through with you and show you where those woods lead to, where the students cut through the apartments, and the road connects to Crittenden Road. I think if I show you by driving around, you'll see how many children, residents, families are so close. There's actually a bridge that connects the apartments. And in the future, I'd like to talk about the request for a security fence. I think that would be very helpful to put a security fence on the perimeter of that property. Is that something that you could help us with?
I think I heard that at our meeting, the West Brighton Community Forum, and I think that is something that having the university and that the folks at the university that are responsible for that, it's something to review. I think the chief may have some thoughts on that as well.
Actually, it was a gentleman that I spoke to that suggested that I actually do what Councilman Werner did, was to go out there and look at the foot traffic. And what I saw was there's quite a bit of foot traffic to residents that live at Crittenden Way Apartments,
right,
that were using the parking lot as a cut through to get to West Henrietta Road to a bus line.
Mm-hmm.
So, talking about the fence, certainly, somebody will make the decision about the fence. I can weigh in an opinion. I think it may have an unintended consequence of impacting some of the residents of Crittenden Way. But that's just for discussion purposes. I will point out a clarification that the university, or a point that the university made to us. A participant in the treatment program responds to the hospital, gets treated, and then leaves the hospital. There's no loitering. There's no people behind. I think there's a perception, and it's a justified perception, that people will be able to go get their medication, and then there's like a secondary market for the medication. I have no data that points to that in the current structure that's going on at the University of Rochester right now. I think with the recommendations that we made with the roving patrol and the camera footage and the footprint that the camera footage is going to provide for that location, that if it becomes a problem, and right now it is not a problem, that they're able to deal with that and able to respond to that in a timely fashion. I will be contacting the resident back that had that concern, that there was a concern that the participants of the program would go to the rear of the building, and I learned that there's a very large berm back there. And about 29 years ago when I first started here, there was an old farm and a driveway. The driveway's still there, the farm's gone. And the concern that the participants in the program would be bringing their unused methadone or a stocking or stockade of back to that area. We certainly will look at that from a perspective and meeting again with Chief Fisher and the university and saying, this is the concern we're having. How do they plan on addressing that? And we'll bring that concern back.
All right, I look forward to that. Thank
And
you.
certainly the video surveillance will be in the rear of the building.
My understanding is the footprint will include all four sides of the building. And one of the questions was, is there live monitoring? I believe that's what I heard. I'll need clarification on that. I can tell you from an investigative standpoint, these systems, their system, our system, a lot of the stores have an internet-based system that we can go. It's a very useful tool, and there's almost an expectation now in investigations that we'll have some type of camera coverage.
But that's an example, very honestly, of the kind of question that I do think it's important that we get, the community gets, and the town board, because we are your representatives, get, so that we can understand the procedures that are in place. There was discussion, I think good discussion, and the information you provided in terms of what, if any, market there is for methadone is certainly important. When people, as we all heard, in some cases after long-term treatment, some of these patients may be able to take doses home with them, and what are the implications of that? So there are a lot of good questions, but again, my experience with the university is and you described it too, Chris, particularly from working on the development of the South Campus area, is that they did take the time again and again to meet with the community formally and informally, and I think that led to a good result. And I think what's important here is that your concerns are aired, and you get and we get answers.
And I think one of the concerns was that after they go into the clinic and then come out, that more than 2 or 3 will gather together on a corner on West Henrietta Road or East Henrietta Road, waiting for the bus, and who knows what kind of mischief they'll get into. And I believe they said that the bus now goes into the plaza, picks them up at the door.
That's right, Louise, and that was one of the improvements, frankly, when Strong Ties went in there. And there was concern, legitimate concern, similar to what Mark described when Strong Ties was at the corner of Clinton and Elmwood. People at the bus stop were a real concern. Moving that bus stop in where it is now at the, adjacent to the front door of the premises, and again, within view of surveillance cameras, whether we're talking about patrons at Strong Ties or at the opiate clinic. That's where they will get the bus if they are riding the bus. And that has had a significant impact for the better since Strong Ties opened. Any other questions? Yes, come on up.
Hello, my name is Mary Wilson. I live at 155 Lantern Lane, which is in very close proximity to the clinic as it's perceived to be. I think one of my greatest disappointments is the extreme lack by not showing up to any of these meetings as they have been asked to do, particularly to the second meeting that was held last month. They did not show. That showed direct concern or lack of concern. We were given a name and a telephone number to call. You can't get through.
Thank you for that statement. Have people here attempted to reach Colleen McCarthy either by phone and by email? Could you just show hands if you have called her or email? Have you gotten a response?
No responses. Where is
Thank
their
you.
concern?
Thank you, and that, I will tell you, that is, certainly wouldn't be acceptable to me.
No. One of my other concerns is the lighting. in the general neighborhood. The plaza or strip mall, wherever this is to be at, does have very good lighting. There is lighting at the beginning of Crittenden Road. There is no lighting on Lantern, Furlong, Sylvia. There is lighting on Southland, but it is to my understanding that that lighting on Southland was put in many, many, many years ago, before the 30 years that I have lived in West Brighton. It's pitch black.
I've been in.
We're surrounded by woods. People, now especially with the option of GPS, are constantly cutting through those woods from the University of Rochester through to Lantern Lane. I'm being stopped multiple times through the day by people asking me, can I go through your yard? No, this is private property. There is a public street here. You can go down the end of the street. Well, okay, I'll go over to their yard. No, you need to ask them. That is their private property. It's fairly dangerous, and that's my concern.
Thank you. I will reach out to Colleen. In terms of lighting, I'm not sure that I've been on Lantern at dusk, but I've been on Southland, Doncaster, in that neighborhood as it's getting dark, and it is dark without streetlights. There is a process for establishing street lighting districts, and we're happy to work with you on that, but I don't want to raise any false hopes. That is not an inexpensive process to make happen. Unfortunately, your neighborhood, like some others in different parts of the town, were constructed initially. Lantern, somewhat different than Doncaster and the other streets. I believe it was constructed a little later. The amenities are slightly different, but at the same time, yeah. So that is an option, and certainly to the extent, day or night, if you have a problem with people cutting through your street, and I know some of the other streets are in very close proximity to Whipple Park, and the cut through is a little easier because there is sort of a direct path and they don't have to go through anybody's yard per se. And you know, if folks are trying to get out to West Henrietta Road, that's certainly a better path for Whipple Park residents to take. But as always, if you have someone that doesn't look right, or if you have someone that, you know, you ask to get off your property and won't, call 911 and we will respond.
If you have somebody that blatantly tells you they will not get off your property, we'll address it with a trespassing arrest. If we're finding that it's students that are using the cut through, I'll use my connection, my colleague at the university, to have a student meeting, and we'll talk about the concerns of the neighbors surrounding the campus. And you know, I hope you have noticed an increase in the marked patrols as well. Have you noticed the officers in your neighborhood?
I personally have not noticed an increase in patrol on Lantern Lane.
Okay. Again, it's disappointing to hear that, but I'll ask that the patrols continue. One of the things that I asked, directed, was that the officers come outside the car and start the dialogue and it happened in some neighborhoods. So what I would expect if that were if I were to drive down your road, and I did one day, and it was a great day, the sun was out, and people were surprised to see me. I don't drive a car that has lights on the top. It's not marked. It's an unmarked car, and I communicated to some residents. And I got an offer of lunch at the last meeting. I haven't taken up that gentleman on that, his offer, but I'll communicate back to my staff again that we need to do a better job of interacting in random patrols. I can tell you it has been very busy the past couple of weeks for us. We handle a lot of, traffic right now seems to be, even though we don't have snow. And just when I mentioned that I was tracking our crash data, we experienced a very 2 busy days with crashes. But I'll get the message back. I'll put the invitation out there. If you'd like me to come meet with you and your neighbors, I'll do that. Jim, you asked me how can we communicate better as to what's happening in the town of Brighton. We put out weekly criminal activity on our website, on the police blotter. That's a mechanism. We do data tracking, and we try to do an analysis, and if we start to see spikes, and our method of getting that spike terminology back to the residents is a little bit better now, and I'll reach back through neighborhood contacts.
You also post that on Facebook.
We do. We had a robbery today, and we utilized for those that are on Facebook, the Town of Brighton Police Department has a page, and I'm looking at how we can do a better job as a police department to get messages back. And part of our goal for the past 2 years has been community engagement, and we're entering a new year, and we're trying to expand our two-way communication. And Jim, I think you asked me that today, is how will we know if crime is starting to increase them on Bastion? How do we know? And we try to protect the privacy of a victim. In a residence, we will not put your house number, but we will describe the crime as best we can. If it's a commercial establishment, we do list the address, and if someone were to read the blotter and ask for more information, my phone number is on the website, my direct email is on the website, and I'll call you back personally, and I'll share with you what I can. I'll also tell you that if it's protected information and I'm not allowed to divulge it, I'll give you the basis as to why, and I did that in context of a situation you asked about. Thanks.
Are there any other questions or comments? Anybody else wish to participate in the open forum portion of our meeting? Thank you for your concerns. We will take them back and continue the dialogue. Thank you very much for being here. We're now going to continue. Let me get the agenda back up here on my screen. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting with the addition of the item of communication that Ms. Shermer shared with the town clerk?
So, second?
Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Motion to approve and file the town board meeting minutes for our November 24th, 2015 town board meeting.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Next is the public hearing that we have scheduled for tonight. This is a public hearing on a proposal to amend the incentive zoning and rezoning approval previously given for the University of Rochester's South Campus Institutional Plan Development Project to delay the next traffic study update from the end of 2015 into 2017. Dan, has the necessarily legal notice been published in this matter?
Yes, indeed. It was in the December 3rd edition of the Brighton Pittsburgh Post.
Thank you. Then I declare this public hearing to be open. We do have some materials that are in the meeting packet that I will have direct that they be read into the record of this public hearing. Is there anyone that would like to address the board? Jose?
Jose Fernandez, University Architect for the University of Rochester, 271 East River Road, Brighton. We looked at the landscape literally around the South Campus and realized that right now there is a tremendous amount of flux as it relates to traffic. The 390 work that's going on, the 590, just a lot of different patterns that are occurring that are short term. College Town has recently opened and the volume of business is increasing and there are new stores opening constantly. We have Citygate. We have the new clinic that is being built that will be open in 2017, and we realized that if we were to do a traffic study in the fall of 2015, it would not reflect any sort of steady state. It would be somewhat unique, and we would not be able to use the data in any meaningful way to interpolate it and to understand what's going to be happening. So we met with the town of Brighton, the city of Rochester, Monroe County, DOT, and posed this question, and all of the subject matter experts agreed that it was not going to be terribly helpful, and that it would be best if we would defer that traffic analysis when we achieved a more solid, steady state. So that we could actually have meaningful data and be able to use it. We also talked about what types of development might occur at the university during that interval between now and 2017, and all agreed that they were negligible in their impacts. So I think everyone said that the best course of action here would be to postpone that study, wait until the spring of 2017 when a lot of the work with the 390 interchanges get completed and things start to stabilize, where the construction in Citygate and all the stores are open. The College Town is pretty much fully open by then, and then the new clinic in operation. And then if we were to take traffic measurements, we would get a real good indication of what's going on, and that data would be far more helpful in making analysis. So for that reason, we are requesting that we defer the traffic analysis until 2017, and then from that point on, subsequently do it every 5 years.
Thank you, Jose. As I look at what we have in front of us, there's the resolution speaks of the first quarter of 2017, but I heard you say spring of 2017.
I think first quarter of 2017 is fine.
And is that a date that you would do your data collection, or is that a date by which an actual report would be?
That's the date that we would basically start doing the data collection in the first quarter of 2017. Report would probably be done in the spring of 2017, probably the second quarter.
All right. As we listen to any further comment, we may want to just to clarify that, since I think what we're really focusing on is a submission date. We may want to speak in terms of the second quarter instead of the first quarter. But let's hear if there's any further material for the record. Thanks, Jose. Is there anyone else that would like to address the town board on this public hearing at this time? Are there any questions from members of the town board?
Only a comment, Bill, it seems to make a lot of sense to defer. Yeah.
Okay. And you closed with I think what is an important point, and it is referenced here in the resolution, that becomes the new date, the benchmark date for future 5-year updates. So the next 5-year update would be in 2022. Are there any further comments, any questions from members of the audience or the board? Hearing none, I declare this public hearing to be closed. Based on what I heard from Jose, I'm going to suggest that we change the resolution in the second to last line, that the sentence that now reads, by postponing the next required update of the traffic study from 2015, and it now reads to the first quarter of 2017. Jose, June 1st, 2017, would that be a date that would work? All right, I'm going to ask then that whoever makes the motion do so with that amendment, that the next update be not later than June, be completed, be submitted not later than June 1, 2017. Can I have a motion, please?
Bill, the matter before us, I move that we amend the incentive zoning, rezoning approval for the U of R's South Campus institutional plan development project to delay the next traffic study update until for submission by June 1, 2017. If I got that portion correct? Or
right, and in the form of...
I second the motion.
And that's, just to clarify, that in all other respects, the form of the motion is as prepared by the attorney to the town.
I move that we adopt, in all other respects, the resolution as prepared by the attorney for the town.
Thanks, Chris. And we do have a motion from, second from Jim. Yes, Ken?
And just to clarify, I'm sorry. And just to clarify, that last sentence will now read, or at least the last portion of that last sentence will now read, postponing the next required update of the traffic study from 2015 to not later than June 1st, 2017.
Good.
With updates every 5 years thereafter.
Perfect.
Yes, so moved.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DeVonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Thank you, Jose, for coming in, and appreciate your being here. Next, we have communications. Can I have a motion to receive and file 2 communications?
So moved.
Second.
We have a letter from Ramsey Boehner, the Secretary of the Historic Preservation Commission, notifying us that property located at 2924 East Avenue has been designated as a Town of Brighton landmark. I believe that's one of the buildings at the foot of Pelham and Grosvenor, that area there. We also have correspondence from Police Chief Mark Henderson relating to, unfortunately, a resignation from Animal Control Officer Shanna Higgins. Mark, I believe, is out speaking with some of the residents who were here earlier, but Shanna has done a great job for us in a relatively short period of time. Unfortunately, she's following her heart out of, fortunately for her, and we're very happy for her, but she's following her heart out of state. And we will miss her, but we wish her well.
And Supervisor, I would just say that obviously Mark, being in the chain of command, has a lot interaction with Shanna, but dealing with a lot of residents who have had experiences with her, helping them out, and I've gotten a tremendous number of amount of feedback, very positive feedback on her time here with the town. So I just wanted to make sure that was noted as well.
Thanks, Dan. That'll be effective December 28th, so if you do see her between now and then, wish her well. We have a motion and a second to receive and file. Oh, I'm sorry, let me just clarify. And we also had an additional item of communication that would be included in this that was submitted during the open forum. So that communication will also be received and filed as part of this resolution. We have motion and a second. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Committee reports. Louise, Parks, Recreation, and Community Services.
The Parks and Recreation and Community Services Committee met last Monday. However, I have not gotten the minutes from them yet, so I can tell you, though, that we did vote in a new chair for the Recreation Committee, and it will be Dennis Conley. He's been on the board for a number of years and was willing to step forth and become the next chair. And the committee is not going to be meeting until January. And I will let you know the date when I have that.
Thanks, Louise. Chris, Finance Administrative Services.
Bill, our committee did meet on Tuesday, December 1st, just a bit over a week ago. All the matters discussed are on tonight's agenda, and we'll review those in detail at that time. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, December 15th, which is next Tuesday, beginning at 3:30 in the Stage Conference Room, and the public are invited.
Thank you. Jason, Public Safety?
Yes, the Public Safety Committee met yesterday, December 8th, and the items that were discussed, which has actually been an ongoing conversation, is the matter of traffic calming along Bonnie Bray Avenue. And we do have a public hearing coming up at our town board meeting on December 23rd. Actually, that day, because we're close to the holiday, we'll be meeting at 12 noon. So we encouraged, one of the residents was in attendance. We encouraged to get the word out that anybody that has input on that issue, the proposed stop sign at Bonnie Bray and Glen Ellen over in the Roselawn neighborhood, can submit their comments in writing. If they want to send an email, to try to get the emails to us the day before the meeting. That way we can review it and make it part of the record before that public hearing. So that'll be coming up. It'll be the stop sign is proposed northbound on Bonnie Bray at the intersection with Glen Ellen. And of course, there's also going to be a review of the other streets coming in around what the neighbors call Rose Park, which is the large park right in the center of the Roselawn neighborhood. So that's coming up, and hopefully we'll be able to get some resolution on that issue. And in the networking session, we also brainstormed about leaf pickup issues. We've been fortunate with a mild fall and a mild winter thus far, although winter hasn't technically started yet, but by Rochester standards, it usually does by now. But the leaves being placed in the street, and just reiterating that it's important to keep the leaves in the lawns. And how do we get that message out to the landscaping companies, to the neighborhood associations? How do we be proactive about that next year? So there's going to be continuing conversations on that, I imagine, not only in public safety, but also with Public Works, as we take our multidisciplinary approach to these issues. Our next meeting will be on January 12th, 2016, although that's pending our organizational meeting, when all of our agendas and our times are set for the upcoming year. But tentatively, that's the second Tuesday of the month. We meet at 8 o'clock in the morning in the lower level community meeting room, and the public is invited to attend.
Thanks, Jason. Jim, Public Works?
Public Works met just about 8 days ago on Wednesday, the December 2nd. And at that time, we had a number of matters we discussed, but the first thing is we did complete the bids on the replacement of the roof on the op center for the Department of Public Works. And that bid included an alternate to a fleece back or fabric back roof membrane. You want to explain what that is all about in terms of what we're doing over there?
Jim, this is the final phase of working over at the Op Center to complete a portion of the roof that has not been done yet. We've done some upgrades periodically in the last 5 years or so. Yes, the fabric-backed membrane is a little bit different, a little more expensive application. It has things to do with the ballast and how it's placed. So that that was one alternative bid that was considered.
Yeah, and also under the facilities, the library received bids for their interior renovation project on December 1st, and they included 3 contracts, general, electrical, and mechanical, and those bids responses were very competitive, and the library board's going to consider the bid award in December, so it'll be later this month. Under old business, we had the continuing dialogue with the Rollins Tract neighborhood residents. This really had to do with the meetings of the town staff, the Department of Public Works, primarily our town engineer, Mike Guyan, met with the residents in that subdivision to discuss the possible formation of a drainage district and the costs involved in making improvements. and the schematic showing how those improvements would be created. And the anticipated cost to the properties within the district was also part of the discussion. Now, the residents are reviewing the information and are considering preparation for a submittal of an informal petition to initiate a district formation process. Any further update on that since our meeting, Tim?
Jim, at this point, it's still in the hands of the residents over there. I don't think there's been any direction given back to us. There may have been some questioning in the meantime to clarify some things, but no decision or direction yet from the folks.
Then also the Brickyard Trail update. We had a groundbreaking ceremony. Bill emceed that on December 1st. We had a respectable turnout for that despite the rainy weather. The contractor has completed the tree clearing process and begun to install the trail base, starting at Westfall and working northward towards Town Hall. The contractor indicated he should be able to complete this grinding of the brush by December 14th, simply due to the fact that we've had a real break in the weather here. Warm weather has really allowed the contractor to proceed really ahead of schedule on that.
So that means they'll break through by then? All the brush clearing will be?
It's broken through.
Yeah. Yeah.
The trail is, I'm not going to say it because we don't want people out there, but there is fencing put up, but they're making great progress.
Fortunately, as a result of the good weather. Under new business, we have reviewed the public works schedule for this coming year, and we've agreed on that. The only change we made was moving the September meeting from the day after Labor Day to a week after Labor Day, and to avoid vacation conflicts. So anyway, we'll also be reviewing the schedule, check for any other conflicts in our holiday schedule in the town here. Also, code enforcement was another matter to discuss. At number 33 Remington Parkway, unsafe structure, and the town contacted the bank regarding the maintenance of that location, and the foundation has collapsed and the house is really declared unsafe. So the town will begin the unsafe building process. Tim, you want to comment on that?
Certainly, Jim. We've actually been down to the court twice. It's a little complicated, as a lot of these vacant houses and homes are, trying to either get the bank or the owner of record to step up to the plate. Having no success, it's our desire, I think the town's desire and intent to move forward with the unsafe structure so that we can declare it and have a public hearing held so that it could be demolished. Obviously, our preference would be to have the bank do it on their, their nickel rather than the town, but it appears that there's, not going to be any movement in that regard.
But just so that it's clear, ultimately,
we do get
right. It will be added onto the tax bill.
Correct.
Of the bank.
Right.
And they will have to pay it, or under the arrangement that the county has, the county will pay it. It'll become a tax lien on that property. But it's got we've talked about it. That building has to be addressed. It is not safe.
How does that process work? What's the timeline on once you've identified the project? What do we do?
Well, the next steps, Chris, is we have to come back with a report from staff, and it'll probably come from Mike. We want it from a professional. We have some professionals on staff. Patty Hinckley, our architect, is a licensed architect. Mike's a licensed engineer. The code outlines how we have to proceed. That's the first report we need, and then we present it to the town board, and the town board then will set a public hearing date on the matter. After the public hearing has been conducted, depending on if there's any, testimony, I guess, one way or the other, the town can take action to then condemn the property, and we can proceed with having it demolished.
So my direction, frankly, to Tim was that be on our agenda for the first meeting in January, right, where we set that public hearing.
Right.
So that we move forward.
Report by the first meeting in January.
Yep.
That's
what we'll do is we'll have the I know Mike and I were talking today, and we will be working on that report. In the meantime, we may even have the report to the town board. May even have a report to the town board, to the meeting prior to that. However, our target is the first one in January, and that would allow us to then proceed schedule-wise. Then we'd have to prepare bid documents and go from there. So, actual demolition probably would not happen until March. So again, even though we're being proactive and you take this incrementally in steps with the process we have to follow, it still is not, a 30-day said and done process.
Good. Thank you.
Good. The last matter was trees at 71 Warrington Drive. Public Works Committee agreed to have that tree removed. That's been reviewed by the Tree Council. And
yes, it was reviewed by the Tree Council last night, Jim.
I'm sorry?
It was reviewed by the Tree Council last night.
And the plan would be for have that removed by when? Because that tree is declared hazardous.
It is. We'll see with the timing whether we will take it down with our forces / county contract for emergency tree removals. We will be beginning in January do our annual winter maintenance, and we do takedowns then as well. This is one thing that probably should be done sooner than later, though.
Our next meeting for the Public Works Committee will be on Tuesday, January 5th at 9 a.m. in the lower level community meeting room.
Thanks, Jim. One thing I wanted to add on to Jason's, we had a discussion at the end. One of the great things about that Public Safety Committee is we really do, it's multidisciplinary. Having our Public Works and our fire there, we had a discussion of a project that we have funding for in the budget for 2016, and that is replacing as many of the metal stakes, fence poles that mark many of our fire hydrants in town so that they're visible in the snow with the whips. You may have seen whips that are attached to a lot of them. They're much less obtrusive visually. You don't have something stuck in the ground that you have to mow around. You don't have that pole there that sometimes interferes with the firefighter's use of the hydrant. So we've got money in the budget, and the fire department and Public Works are going to be working together to inventory locations, work with the water authority, and try to get as many of those whips and improve the view a little bit in our neighborhoods throughout town that have fire hydrants. So that's something we discussed, and everybody's on board.
More or less just flags to identify where it is?
Well, yeah, right now you have the yellow, large, kind of bulky fence
All
poles.
this time I was thinking they were an antenna and they could somehow read the. I guess not.
No, they're really just for visibility. Yeah.
Actually, they're not yellow, they're rusty.
You're right. No, the existing ones really are not attractive.
Rust is a color too.
So, thanks for those committee reports. New business, Chris, reading and approval of claims.
Bill, tonight I've reviewed claims totaling $594,122.83. Those that caught my eye were $35,000, about $35,400 paid down on the Elmwood sewer bond. Also, I did notice that there was, and this, I wish Rebecca was here to tell me about it, but there was a story time trampoline program over at the rec department for $156 total. It looked to be about 8 students that went and they read while they were jumping on the trampoline. I'm not sure, but again, they got great programs over there, and it was paid for by the participants. Also, they had a home alone safety program, which was very well attended. There were quite a number of young people there being taught what to do when they're home alone. I saw $7,800 worth of loader tires in Tim's department. The big item is the purchase of a new ambulance for the Corps, some $91,000. Paving of the ops center, the asphalt cost was some $24,000, and a pipelining project of some $96,000. But I've reviewed the claims. I find them to be in order, and I move that they be approved for payment.
Second.
Discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros.
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio.
Aye.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Supervisor Manley.
Aye. Louise?
Under new business, the first matter is the approval to hire a particular person to the position of building inspector. I move on the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
The town board is being asked to hire Ed Shiro to be our new building inspector, to replace our previous building inspector who resigned. Ed has a lot of experience as building inspector in the town of Chilai, but he has served as more than a building inspector, and frankly, that's what we were looking for. That was my first priority, was making sure we were hiring someone that really could multitask and specifically was expert and had all the necessary licenses, not only for building inspection, but also to handle our code enforcement part of that load. We've had a lot of discussions here at these meetings about property maintenance, code enforcement, and Ed is someone who has done both. He has worked for the town of Chilai for many years, but he's also worked with the public in a different capacity. He is a member of the town board in the town of Wheatland. So we are looking forward to Ed starting on December 28th.
28th, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a motion and a second. Jason, you seconded that, I believe? Yeah. Any discussion? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel.
Aye.
Councilmember Novros. Councilmember DePonzio.
Aye.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Supervisor Manley.
Aye. Jim?
Next item is to authorize the supervisor to execute an agreement with Geese Control of New York Incorporated to provide geese control services for the year of 2016. I move on the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
No change in this contract from past year and from previous years. We have worked with them to keep our goose population under control.
Under control.
We have a motion and a second. Anything further? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel.
Aye.
Councilmember Novros.
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio.
Aye.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Supervisor Manley.
Aye. Jason?
Yes, the next matter seeks authorization for the supervisor to execute an agreement with Animal Hospital of Pittsford to provide boarding and veterinary services for 2016. I move we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
Again, we've worked with Animal Hospital of Pittsford for a number of years. There's a slight increase in fees for one of their services. I believe the first day of boarding is increasing by 50 cents. And other than that, the fee schedule remains the same. Dan, you and Mark, I think, probably have the primary interaction with them, and your track record has been good with them. Good. Anything further? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel. Councilmember Novros.
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio.
Aye.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Supervisor Manley.
Aye. And Jason, we have the second matter is related. The next matter
Yes,
is
the
related.
next matter seeks approval to amend animal boarding fees, and I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
And this amendment, those fees are passed on to residents when they claim their animals that have been boarded when they've gotten lost. Another reason, it's really important, particularly with your dogs. Please license your dogs. You'll save money in the long run, and you'll make sure your pet stays safe. Discussion on this matter? Dan, please call the roll.
So I just want to point out quickly, they've changed the fee for the first day. They kept this following days the same. I mean, we have to, by law, board the dogs for X number of days to try and find the owner before animal control will surrender them to Lollipop. But the fee is the same for each day. That helps us to offset unfortunately, there's some cases where animal control picks up a dog and are not able to identify the owner. So those 5 or 7 days that we are required to board them, we do not get that money back. So by keeping the same rate, even though we're charged a different rate each day, that helps to offset those other expenses that when we do not find the owner.
Thanks, Dan. Now I'll let you call the roll.
Hold on a second. Not sure I understand what you just said. So you're saying that the rates that the town is charging are different than the rates in the contract with Pittsford Veterinary Hospital?
The first day rate is the same.
Uh-huh.
And the way that it's been set up is that the additional days, we charge one rate per day at the town level.
Right, but in the Pittsford Animal Hospital contract, the rate for the first day is greater
Different
than
than
the
the
rate for the
second
subsequent
day.
days. Is that
Correct.
correct?
Yes.
Right, so this resolution then needs to be changed.
Is it?
Because I think, I mean, I just looked at it briefly.
Yeah, it does. You're right.
I think that the resolution says that the town rates are gonna coincide with the rates charged by the Pittsford Animal Hospital.
So, and I would, you're right, Ken, and what I would ask is that we have that motion from Jason and Jim seconded it, and I would ask for a friendly amendment to change the language there to read, increase the boarding fees charged by the town to dog owners as set forth, to the daily rates as set forth in the above referenced correspondence, being the correspondence from Dan Eamon dated December 3rd.
I would accept that amendment.
I would second that.
And Ken, if you can get the specific language to the clerk for the minutes. Any discussion on that? Good catch, thank you.
Where's the letter from Dan Amon?
It's attached to the resolution.
Yes, I see what.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think your letter is fine.
And the letter is correct. It's $14, it's going from $14 a day to $14.50 per day. Yeah. Further questions? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Warner?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Chris?
Next item is to authorize the supervisor to execute an agreement with Barrow Architecture for professional services to update and prepare cultural resource surveys for landmark designations. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney for the town.
Second.
This is, the cultural resource surveys are studies of properties that the Historic Preservation Commission uses to back up determinations that properties should be designated as landmarks. Ken, you are counsel to that group. Any comment on this?
Not really. It's sort of the essential working budget of the commission. And the way that the budget is structured, you've already approved a certain amount to fund those kind of either updates or new surveys that the commission can spend each year. The resolution gives them the flexibility to determine how they want to spend that money within budgeted amounts. And Barrow has been doing a great job, and I think the board has relied on their expertise substantially.
So, the board that you are on, that you represent, tells these people properties that you think should be recommended as, or should be historic
Considered.
What I found disturbing to me, just recently I found out, that if you go to a resident and say, we want to go through the process of making your property a historic, whatever, and they cannot say no.
Well,
if I could explain a little bit more about the process. So, properties first are identified usually by either board members or our town historian that have some cultural or historic significance in the town. Many of them are residences, some of them are commercial buildings. Once that property is identified and the board decides that it's interested, an informal meeting is held. The letter goes out to invite the owners to sit down and chat about that and talk about the process and what their input is, I would say the great majority of homeowners welcome it. And that the process is a very cooperative, positive one. Every now and then we do have somebody who comes in and is afraid that this designation is going to interfere with their ability to do what they'd like with their property, to live in their property and enjoy the property, and some even fear that there's going to be a negative impact on the value of their property. And the board works hard, as does staff. Ramsey's the staff person assigned to this board. Ramsey does a great job, as does Mary Jo, explaining that really the only ramifications of a designation is to substitute the Historic Preservation Board for the Architectural Review Board when it comes to exterior renovations. So if any structure wants to have exterior renovations done that are going to require a building permit, they likely will have to go in front of some board in town. This particular board has particular expertise when it comes to preserving historic properties. And all the designation means is that the Historic Preservation Board, instead of some other board, will have jurisdiction over that property when it comes to determining what materials, for example, what design, what look will occur with respect to renovations or repairs on the exterior of the property. Has nothing to do with the interior of the property, has nothing to do with colors used on the outside of the property, is strictly sort of a materials, and then the board, which consists of mostly historic homeowners themselves, have a tremendous wealth of knowledge, and I think most homeowners find them to be a tremendous resource to them, and often save money after they've come to the Historic Preservation Commission for what we call a certificate of appropriateness, that is the permission to go ahead and make that renovation, because the board suggests different methodologies, different resources that they might be able to use. So it does sound like a scary process, I understand that, but when you really go through the process and learn the process and appear in front of the board and go and understand a little bit more, it's not as scary. In fact, it's in many ways a benefit, and in many ways a great resource for those homeowners.
Thanks, Ken. That's a great summary. The only thing I would add, too, is in addition to that sort of informal conversation, there is a formal public hearing.
Oh, no
And
doubt, no doubt.
The town has the burden of showing that the property meets one of the 4 criteria. The property owner has the right to come in and appear at the hearing and explain why they don't think, if they would not like their property designated, they can certainly come in and formally explain why.
But, you know, Councilmember Noveros is correct. The homeowner doesn't get a veto.
That's correct. It is the HPC that takes that vote.
Is it usually based on the age of the property, or the particular architecture of the property, or the architect that built the property? I got them all?
Yes.
Not all, but you're
Those
definitely on the right.
Those are 3 good criteria, but it's maybe his person of some historic significance lived at the property. Maybe the property itself played a role in the history of the town or the history of the region. It could be a significant style that is a good example of that particular architectural style. It could be a famous architect or a well-known architect in the area. Any one of those, any one of those criteria, and usually, I should say, a combination of many of those.
Okay. Anything further on that one? Then we have a motion and a second. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Noveros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePoncio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Louise?
The next matter is to authorize a reappointment of Linda Rapkin as a member of the Brighton Memorial Library Board of Trustees, effective January 1st, 2016 through December 31st, 2020. I move on the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
Anyone that knows Linda knows what a passionate advocate for libraries she is, and she does a great job for the board, and I'm pleased that she's willing to re-up for another 5 years. Thank you, Linda.
I've enjoyed working with her as the liaison to that board, yes. She's a very dry wit, which is appreciated, too.
Yes. And did you second that one, Jason? I thought
did.
so, but I didn't have it written down here. Good, okay. Anything further? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Jim?
Next is to approve an award bid to Leo J. Roth of Rochester, New York, to provide the construction services to replace the town operations center roof with the authorization for the supervisor to execute an agreement and associated documents with the same. I move in the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
Tim alluded to this project a moment ago. Any discussion anybody has? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Jason?
Yes, the next matter seeks approval to appropriate funding from forfeited property account into the law enforcement equipment account to support purchases related to body-worn cameras for the police department. I move we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
And this really finishes the approval process for something we've spent some time discussing and now funding. Mark, you've talked about body cameras before, and we know how important they are, but maybe one.
Would you like me to go over it again, Luis?
No, it's okay. I understand.
This is actually the part of the funding that'll be budget neutral to the town. It's $80,000, a very significant sum of money, coupled with Senator Roback's $10,000 that pays for better than half. And we look forward to implementing. Spoke with the labor attorney today, and we're moving on that front as well.
Good. We have a motion and a second. Anything further? Ken?
I just want to point out that this funding is not going to all be used right up front. It's going to be spread over a period of time, so you'll see in the resolution that the funding is to be expended as needed.
Right. This is a 5-year contract, not only for cameras, and we've discussed it, I think, at the last meeting. There's so much more to this than just buying cameras. The software, the storage of the vast amount of video that will be generated by this, and the need to be able to access it, protect its integrity. You went through a very detailed beta testing process, looked at a bunch of systems, and I'm looking forward to seeing this implemented, if not on January 1st, very shortly thereafter.
We're getting some feedback that we're not the only agency to select TASER International, so they'll have a very large contract to fill. They've put us as a priority. We definitely will not be going live the first week of January. We hope to by the sometime in the month of January.
Great.
Good.
Great.
Good.
We have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Chris?
Bill, the next item is to authorize the supervisor to execute a renewal agreement with the Holforth Risk Management Company to provide continued independent risk management consulting services for 2016. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney for the town.
Second.
We have worked with Holforth for a number of years. Suzanne, any thoughts on this contract? This is a contract the board is certainly familiar with.
No, as we've discussed before, I mean, this is an independent consultant, which can provide us with some valuable information and services. They review our commercial insurance policies and give us recommendations. And
I see a slight increase in the hourly rate, but $5, as I
$5.
recall.
Just like here.
You're thinking of
it. We have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Another finance matter, Chris.
Bill, the next item is to seek authorization to execute an agreement with New World Systems, INC, to provide system software maintenance services to the town's finance department for 2016. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney for the town.
Second.
Suzanne, you've had experience with this program, which is a unique program, that you're very good at.
Boy, is she ever.
And I did want to point out, too, this contract is actually a 5-year contract. I mean, we do have options to cancel after a couple years, but we've used New World Systems since 1995. Been very happy with them. I'm very familiar, of course, with their software and like the flexibility that it gives us at our office.
Well, the program has been in use since 1995. We're always concerned about backup systems. Is there somebody else in the department that can use it other than you?
Yes.
Everybody, but I don't think anybody's fingers
Everybody
fly
else.
over it quite as fast as Suzanne's do.
Some do. I think everybody in the finance
Andrew's getting there, though.
department is very good with the software.
I knew the answer to that question.
You know, at some point in time, we might want to upgrade a little bit, but that'll be down the road.
Oh, okay.
I would just point out that the opt-out provisions, which occur in years 3, 4, and 5, would be exercisable as a result of non-funding in the budget for this service, is how that
Correct.
reads. So that if we provide funding in the budget for this type of service, then we do not opt out.
Right, and we have, well, for this type of service, and we have, the discussion has been, we might at some point move to a cloud-based system, which would be a different.
Right, a different base service, right.
Okay, we have motion and a second. Further comment? Thanks, Suzanne. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Warner? Aye. Supervisor Mealy?
Aye, and one more finance matter.
It is to set a public hearing for.
Nope, no,
Excuse me, I'm
budget
sorry, to
transfers.
seek approval to record various 2015 budget transfers and appropriations to reflect changes which have occurred since the adoption of the 2015 budget. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney for the town.
Second.
Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Warner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Jason?
Yes, next matter seeks to set a public hearing date for December 23rd, 2015, regarding approval to appropriate repair reserve funding to support the Public Safety Wing HVAC project. I move we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
And again, I would note, as was noted earlier, that public hearing will start at noon on the 23rd, rather than the usual 7 o'clock time. Any further discussion? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Warner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Louise?
The next matter is approval to award a bid to Platinum Limousine of Western New York to provide transportation services for various senior recreation programs and events with authorization for the supervisor to execute an agreement with the same. I move on the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
And as was discussed in finance, this will be a new vendor. Our previous vendor folded during the year. Becky was able to fill in the gap on very short notice, but this will be a new vendor. Becky did go out and physically inspect the vehicle, so taking a very hands-on approach because we want to make sure our seniors have, transportation that not only our staff is comfortable with, but that they are comfortable with. So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Warner?
Aye. Whoops.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Sorry, didn't mean to jump you there. Louise.
The next matter is the reappointment of Mark Kokonovich to the Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Citizens Advisory Board, effective January 1st, 2016 through December 31st, 2018. I move on the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second. And Bill, if I might broadcast something for Mark Kokonovich. I've worked with Mark on any number of community committees, and he's my former manager of my children's soccer team. I was the coach, and he is one of the best managers of those kind of programs, but then went on to lead that soccer club as president. He's been on the rec board for a number of years, and also he is the president of our school board. Mark is a community asset, and I'm thrilled that he's willing to play this role as well in our Parks and Rec program.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mark. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye, we really do. Thanks for that, Chris, because we do appreciate Mark's service. Matters of the supervisor, actually, we've touched on a couple of the things that I was going to talk about, but again, I know most of you have gotten your leaves out, or if you have a contractor, the contractor has gotten them out. They should not be in the street. We are currently doing our third pass through the town. I think this year the second pass took the longest, and it did take a while. They came down early and they came down heavy this year, but we're making good progress on that third pass through town, and as we will finish that pass. We will continue to pick up leaves after that pass and debris if weather permitting, and hopefully right now it looks pretty good. So that's one thing. But when we finish our leaf pickup, of course, we do ultimately begin to transition into snow removal. And one thing I do want to remind everybody already, overnight parking restrictions are in effect. They are not dependent on whether there is snow on the ground. So I walk a lot in the morning. Most mornings I'm out walking. Some of my homemakers' neighbors, I got to ask you to please get your cars off the street. I know some folks are still parking on the street, but snow or no snow, overnight parking is illegal at this time of year.
Yeah, and I'd like to say one thing about the leaves. We're not going to talk about leaves, but we'll say this about the leaves. If you containerize them, believe me, it's worth it.
Oh, yeah.
Every single week they pick them up and they put them into the truck. So you will not have them sit on your lawn, and you will not get bugged about having them in the street. So it's worth it to get the bags or a couple of barrels.
Absolutely.
Yep. Absolutely agree.
And again, the work on the trail is progressing well, and thanks to everybody that has made that happen. This is the Hanukkah season, so I do want to wish everybody a happy Hanukkah. I've had the pleasure of participating in a couple of menorah lighting ceremonies, and truly the holiday period for all of the different faith traditions in Brighton are really a special time, and especially for the kids. Hanukkah has great significance for people of all ages, but kids really do enjoy it. So my very best to everybody celebrating Hanukkah at this time. And for those of you that are going to be celebrating Christmas in a couple of weeks, I just want to remind you, shop in Brighton. Small Business Saturday was a week ago Saturday, but really every day is a great day to shop in Brighton, whether you're on Monroe Avenue, whether you're on West Henrietta Road. Someone out there might want a new Harley Davidson under the tree. You can get it right there on West Henrietta Road. Is that right, Ken?
Nah, one's all I can handle.
But I would mention, if you're looking for gifts for your favorite Harley rider, you can get those there too. Tops Plaza, we've got a lot of places where Christmas presents or gift certificates are available. Traffic's a little easier, and so please think about shopping in Brighton. That's all I have. Town board. Any matters of the board? Sorry, the clerk, nothing. Board?
Bill, I had a couple of matters. One, I had with some fear, I went out about 5:30 to Pittsford Plaza, because I had a little time before the town board meeting. And yes, there was a lot of traffic there getting off on Monroe Avenue, but one thing I realized is that I don't think people realize that that ramp off of 590 onto Monroe, heading out eastbound, has 2 lanes. The one lane will back up almost all the way up to the highway. It was only about halfway up, but this was at the height of rush hour. And it was not full, but the left-hand lane was totally empty.
Yeah.
Please, guys, all you got to do is get into that left-hand lane. There were only 3 cars ahead of me. The light changed immediately when I came up to it, went right out onto Monroe Avenue.
You know, that's an interesting observation. There are places, Tim, where there's a sign on ramps, please, use 2 lanes. Maybe you can make inquiry of the state DOT as to whether they could take a look at that and, if appropriate, install one.
I will follow up, Supervisor. I think as Chris mentioned, and even with the new configuration, there were always 2 lanes there when you came up to the light. So it's not that it's changed. It's interesting how people may have perceived, but if there's 2 lanes, sometimes that's the striping. Sometimes if there's if we start to get that queuing, particularly, and that's, I think, the state gets most concerned when it backs up into the travel lanes on the expressway, that if some type of signage is necessary to advise the motorists, that would probably be a no-brainer. So I will follow up with the state with that.
Yeah.
The other thing is, on a very serious note, is our country again has suffered 2 very tragic murders, series of murders, both at the Planned Parenthood facility in Colorado and also at the facility for developmentally disabled people in San Bernardino, California. But I'm almost as upset by the reaction to that. Brighton is a town of diversity. That's why I live here. Obviously, we have schools, we have beautiful homes and neighborhoods and such, but I picked this town because of the diversity of our population. Now, murder is not an effective tool to further a political agenda. It cannot be, it will not be, long-term. But similarly, prejudice and reaction to certain segments of our community is counterproductive and is also not an effective tool. It's counterproductive to assimilation and for people to feel a part of our community, and it cannot be tolerated. And when I hear politicians say to the contrary, it's quite upsetting as an American. Here in Brighton, we are all about embracing diversity, and this is at the holiday season, we always have to remember the message that we celebrate is to love one another. That is the only effective tool, and we must embrace our Muslim neighbors and our Christian neighbors too, for that matter, because the murders at the Planned Parenthood clinic were not committed by just one ethnic group, or the same ethnic group as other murders. So I just encourage us all to reach out to other members of the community and embrace them this season.
Good point.
Well said, Chris. Thank you very, very much. Any further from the town board? Then can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePoncio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Just want to remind you again, our next town board meeting will be December 23rd. It's Wednesday, but it will be at noon right here in this room. Look forward to seeing you then. Have a great night.